Delphi, a collector and transmitter of the ether that is everywhere in the universe. Now let's remember that these amphitheaters were in parts of complexes that had to do with healing of people. Let's remember that even in, for example, Epidaurus, the famous theater in the Peloponnese south of Corinth, this here is Delphi. Delphi also had an amphitheater. You'll see them in the pictures next coming up. These were temples placed on the magnetosphere ley line grid of the Earth, and there were temples there, amphitheaters, and people would go there for healing, meditation, and as I've said before in other videos, they would be there for a week to 10 days. They would wash daily, they would fast, they would confess, and they would listen to music, look at art, and they would have theaters daily in the amphitheaters. One was a tragedy followed by a comedy, and you had to see both. You just couldn't leave after the tragedy because you would feel too distressed. You'd have to laugh at the comedy. The tragedies and the comedies were usually had to do with dealing with everyday very serious problems. So the first one you would feel touched with, and the second one you would laugh at the same problems, which were probably problems that you would face. So the collector and transmitter of the ether does the morphology of the Delphi area and its surrounding environment hide an inconceivable for our data geophysical transmitter and receiver of some kind of energy? So let's take a look at the first oracle of all time, the one responsible for determining locations of the temples, but also of cities based on geography and topography. Its coordinates on the geography of Greece, but also the whole planet, is very important. Another very important myth tells us that Zeus wanted to find the center of the Earth's spherical surface between 2 points, left 2 eagles from opposite ends of the Earth. The eagles flew towards each other and met in Delphi. The exact location of this meeting was indicated by the porcelain stone with a strange and vague for us meaning, the net around it, the wild. This stone was named navel, the navel of the earth, and was found in the crypt of the Oracle of Delphi in the sanctuary of the Temple of Apollo, next to the statue of Apollo. Note that this is not the original, but a Roman copy that's now housed in the Museum of Delphi. The exact location of the original is unknown. The fact that it was named navel leaves us enough room to think that the center of the Earth is in a golden ratio. That is, just as the human navel is not located exactly in the middle of the human body in relation to its height, but in a golden ratio location. Similarly, Delphi is in a golden ratio with its parallel to the oracle. Delphi was built on the slope of Mount Parnassus on a steep cliff that dominates the small valley of the river Pleistos. The Delphic oracle was built at the base of the semicircle of rocks that forms the Mount Parnassus on one side, and the rocks are called Phaedriades, which means the bright, and the one that radiates because they shine and reflect the sun's rays. In today's terminology, we would say that this giant plate with the Phaedriades in half forms a semicircular mirror reflector. Imagine how the original egg-shaped stone with the strange grid and wild around it, the net around it, where it was originally located, along with an exact restoration of the whole building with the exact material that was then made. It was probably the largest transceiver of all time and of humanity. But do not imagine that it is a system of communication with aliens. Perhaps it simply functioned as a giant and natural receiver of favorable radiation or power from the outer space of the Earth. Perhaps, that is, it was spiritual navel for the people from Earth to space or to Sirius, but also from there to them. In fact, if we think that the name of Apollo is analyzed as ai vale, that is, he who puts continuously, Delphi is constantly thrown by celestial Apollo and chthonic Earth radiation. The celestial radiation is enhanced by the surrounding environment, as at a satisfactory distance opposite, the long mountain of Kirfitz closes the horizon to the oracle, and between them stretches the olive grove, which is crossed by the river Plaistus. This natural, it's like a wide gorge, let's put it that way. Now, this natural resort, I've been there a few times. This natural resort that relaxes and soothes the eye may have functioned, or still functions, as a signal amplifier, as the beneficial flow of energy, or ether, comes down from the backbone of Greece. Pindus is mounted, hence concentrated in this valley, but does not stagnate as it flows towards the river, as the river flows. Some places then can act as a huge concave cavity, capable of concentrating cosmic energy like a giant magnifying glass or a huge geophysical satellite dish. This is something that's happened in most of the places where they have been designated as sanctuaries, and then temples have been built there. It's been said, for example, that the Great Pyramid in Egypt, like a solar structure, catches the cosmic radiation, the light of Sirius, and even the polar star, and transmit them multiplied to the king's chamber. The production of such energies is important, but do not confuse with aliens again. This energy could correspond to the ether of the ancient Greeks, the prana of the Indians, and the ka of the ancient Egyptians, the ki of the Chinese, and the organ of Wilhelm Reich, etc. It might be interesting to make a complete reference to the soil and subsoil, the type of rocks, the underground streams, as well as the interior and layout of the oracles, in order to ascertain the practice of ecodynamics of the sanctuary and the area, as well as a much more extensive report on the climate and the radiation that the Earth receives and emits in space. And this research can only be done by experts in the field, of course. What we can certainly mention is that all this information about the choice of the place of the foundation of the Oracle of Delphi was made under certain conditions and measurements of the ancient architects and scientists who left us all room to think, to search, and to research. We could even argue that this natural morphology alludes to a possible channel of communication, as possibly or was happening at the Pythian of Olympus. And this was from the excerpts Delphi, the Navel of the Earth, by Ihor, and this is translated from a Greek article for you. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.